What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant, the podcast. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing glorious, Mr. Arris. How are you doing?
You know, just gonna talk some nerdy things.
Talk some nerd.
I got a fun surprise for you later.
You mentioned this, and last time the surprise was, it blew my mind.
I don't know if it's as good as that one, but it's definitely, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a topic for a while.
I said just before we came on, anytime Arris says he has a surprise for me, I instantly translate that into, this is really gonna make you mad. And he's like, no.
Well, it's just juicy. When I saw it, I was like, ooh. I'm like, this is gonna be fun to talk about.
Also, greetings, Variant Nation. What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Super Bowl weekend.
It is Super Bowl
Now, by the
weekend.
time you guys hear and see this, the Super Bowl will be over.
And they will be like, why aren't you talking about the Deadpool trailer?
Yeah, because we haven't seen it yet, which is why I wanted to bring it up.
You mean Iger didn't send it over early?
He didn't. I sent him an email, and he was like, "Oh man, I'm trying to get that to you," and I haven't heard back.
I
assume he's busy. He doesn't do that much, but
he's like, Ryan's being a real jerk.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. What a piece, that guy.
As in Reynolds.
Who's your prediction for the Super Bowl? Do you have one? I know you're not that big on
Chiefs.
football. Chiefs, yeah.
Chiefs are gonna
I
win.
agree.
It's Chiefs.
For all the wrong reasons, but I agree.
Are you on, briefly, since it is Super Bowl weekend, or was Super Bowl weekend by the time you're listening to this, are you on that train where it's like rigged?
I don't think it's rigged. I will say this. I think there's way too much gambling openly circling around professional sports these days for comfort. And I think that kind of answers the question without answering the question.
With so many people believing that it is kind of rigged somehow, who would vote against the Chiefs?
Probably exactly why the 49ers will win. Because there's all the smart people are probably going, yeah, let's make them think it's going to be the Chiefs and it'll be the 49ers. No, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I would guess the Chiefs because it just feels like that's the best storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say, I've been watching the NFL since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Since I was like 8 years old with my dad. And I've been a football fan my whole life. The last couple of years has had the most huh? Why would they do that? What kind of a call was that? I've never seen officiating like this. It's been the worst I've ever seen it in my life. And whatever the reason for that is, I don't know. Again, too much gambling circling around, betting, open gambling situations circling around professional sports these days for my liking.
I like how I'm realizing as they're listening / watching this, they already know the outcome.
Yeah, they know the outcome. So they're just like, these morons.
Yeah, these idiots. But in any case, Tim, we should lead off with Disney making some announcements this past week.
Yeah.
They had their call.
Including one rumor.
There's one rumor. There's one rumor. But they had their quarterly financial call, earnings call.
Yeah, their earnings call.
So one of the biggest things that came out is that Disney acquired a minority stake in Epic Games / Fortnite. So they bought $1.5 billion into Fortnite. So this means they will now be building out their own section of the Fortnite universe and future games and developments for Epic Games in general.
It seems like it's even beyond Fortnite. It seems like
it's just Epic Games in general.
And I'm like, you know how I am. I'm big on following where technology is going, what's the bleeding edge talking about and doing. And so I've been kind of waiting for years now. We've talked about it numerous times on the show. I've been waiting for years now for stuff like Apple Vision to start going mainstream. There's been technology for AR, VR that's been developing and expanding, and they've been showing it at different, not conferences and stuff like that. But Apple Vision, I think, is like the next. It's like the first step into this where we're going to be kind of able to interact with other worlds while simultaneously seeing our own. Yeah. That AR, that alternate
Ready Player
reality.
One.
Yes. Well, that's virtual. That's full virtual.
But you just said the Apple Vision or whatever, and that's full on Ready Player One status.
Yes, but you can still see the world around you.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going in that direction is what I'm saying.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that this announcement came out just after we're getting Apple Vision, which is kind of the next big stride in that direction. Regardless of how expensive it is right now.
It's like $4,000.
Yeah.
It looks ridiculous, by the way, too. They look like they're ski goggles.
Yeah, but I mean, all VR is kind of like that.
But it's just really funny because 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're gonna look back and be like, look at that hunk of junk.
Yeah, I told you the other day. For me, it's like every other, particularly with Apple, but it's like every other technology. What they're giving us on the consumer level is way behind their actual capacity and what they're able to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the iPhone. They have the ability to give us much better iPhones than what they're giving us now. They just release the technology in increments so that they can maximize their profitability. That's a known thing.
Well, the new rumor,
in technology development and retail.
We're going off a little bit, but the new rumor with Apple phones, iPhones is we're getting a flip iPhone.
I heard this.
Yeah, there's actually renderings of it, and Apple's apparently filing patents and stuff in China right now for early development of it.
Yeah, Samsung had the first. Well, I'd say the first. This is actually a very retro move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they were the first ones to do it with the actual flat smartphone touchscreen.
Yeah.
So I believe it was Samsung was the first. They were one of the bigger ones.
One of the
recently.
more prominent ones.
And now, so Apple had to have their answer as they always do. So, but it's like, with the Apple Vision stuff, like it's going to be that at some point we are going to be where they're just regular eyeglasses and these glasses are going to interact. It's going to be like the Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we're going to be able to work on our computers. We're going to be able to, interact with people who speak other languages in real time, where you'll speak to me, I'll see a translation in real time, and I'll be able to answer you, and you'll see my translation in real time. Like stuff like that. It's going to be, we're not even, I think, 10 years away from what we watched in Minority Report and was like, what?
No longer will you need the translator in your ear, like when Putin's doing interviews, and he's got that little freaking earmuff on, and they're translating to him.
And that's if we can withstand the temptation of going full transhumanist. What Elon Musk is pushing for with his Neuralink.
They're in human trials.
Know what I mean? Where it's just embedded.
Have you seen that? They're in human trials now?
Of course.
It's like, who signs up for that? Who's like, test my brain. I'm going to be the guinea pig for my brain.
Honestly, I think the better question is how long until that becomes normal?
Right, but
because they're going to push to normalize it.
But once it's already like proven that it works and it doesn't, I don't know, like fry your brain, that'll make a little more sense. But right now, you don't know what it's going to do to your brain. It's not tested enough. It could freaking like make you a vegetable for all we know.
There's going to be plenty of people lining up to be the first person to be the first superhuman. Superhuman.
Hell no. Not that guy.
Not this guy.
That's not me.
No.
But in any case, sticking with the Disney news. So before we get to the big one for our purposes, we also got, Frozen 3 is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Moana 2.
Moana 2, an official teaser, which is like basically nothing.
Right.
It's like original music and you just see her on the ocean shore.
Yeah.
But we got a synopsis about it where she's going to go like on an adventure like never before with a new crew and her and Maui are going to go on this, big adventure. Which
it's always like never before.
Never before. Yeah.
Everything is like never before.
I'm a fan of Moana, so we'll see with that. But for our purposes, Tim, Mandalorian and Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
The Mandalorian and Grogu official release date was revealed May 22nd, 2026.
Yeah, which, of course, feels like a long way out, but it'll be here in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to start shooting, I'd imagine, end of this year, beginning of next, with that release date, because it's summer of 2026.
Honestly, I'm like, especially with this year, there's a pretty solid roster of movies that are coming out. But
kind of shockingly,
yes and no. I mean, there's such a backlog of movies.
Quiet Place Day One.
Oh yeah, first trailer for that dropped.
Oh, bro,
they scaled this movie up massively.
He looks so good
because it's based in New York.
I know.
It looks so good.
It's good. So I'm sure many of you keep up with The Quiet Place. It's like one of the biggest original franchises in recent years. Awesome.
It's kind of a pop. It's like a kind of a popcorn horror.
Yeah.
It's a horror thriller.
First two were brilliant, written and directed by John Krasinski.
Mm-hmm.
Is he doing the third one? Do you know?
He's producing, and I believe he co-wrote.
Did he direct?
He did not direct.
No,
I don't think. Let me double check that. You go ahead, and I'll double check.
So what's really cool about this is Quiet Place Day One because it shows you the day one. We're finally getting the origin. Day one, the invasion of these aliens, these creatures that came to Earth, and we get it from New York's perspective because why not? Whenever a tragedy hits, it's got to be freaking New York, right? So you see them meteoring in and these aliens running, rampant in Manhattan, and it's just, that stereotypical like Walking Dead, Last of Us kind of like the world's ending, how do we survive apocalyptic type thing. But I would argue Quiet Place is one of the best takes on that. Like we all like early Walking Dead. Now it's kind of like they're milking Walking Dead, right? But like the first like what 4 or 5 seasons of Walking Dead were brilliant. Then it's just there was like
4 for sure.
Yeah, then you're just kind of like up until like a little bit after they introduced Negan, when like Gwen died, not Gwen, when Glenn died, like that up until like that point was like peak. Then it started falling off because they just were, you know, money. We're just gonna keep up with it.
It still shocks me how polarizing that one
Glenn's
scene,
death?
Glenn's death,
it was so
and that
violent,
scene
and they showed it.
I was like, guys, it's The Walking Dead. Of course, it was gruesome.
But it's crazy.
I mean, he was a loved character.
You know what?
It's also, you know
what it was though? It's because it wasn't on like an HBO or a Prime. This was like actual cable television that they showed, and we're not used to seeing that on like commercial TV where it breaks a commercial. That's usually for like the premium channels.
I guess my confusion was when people kept saying, "Oh, it was too much. It was so gruesome." I was like, you had been watching the previous seasons of The Walking Dead where zombies were regularly eating people's internal organs while they were alive, right? Like I was watching the same show with you,
desensitized by movie and TV.
It's like, how was this a step too far, I wonder?
Yeah, but
I didn't get that. But no, John Krasinski did not direct. It's Michael Sarnowski, and he also co-wrote. John Krasinski was story by John Krasinski, and then he wrote the screenplay.
That's a little depressing. I mean,
well, he produced, so he's overseeing a lot of.
The trailer still looks phenomenal
because it's his property.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. Because I remember he was probably not going to come back for 2, but he did, and then I remember him saying like he was wishy-washy with 3. So I guess the compromise is what you're saying, where he co-wrote and produced but not direct.
Right.
Okay, so and he's in it too. We see in the trailer, at least I think there's going to be flashbacks of him in it.
Yeah, because the second one, and I believe a portion of the first one, I can't fully remember, but certainly the second one give us flashbacks to day 1, but in their small town.
Right.
This is now covering
New York.
the story for what's the name of the character? I don't even know the name of the characters. Anyway, Lupita Nyong'o, she's in it. She has I think it's her first appearance in the series.
I think she's the lead in this film.
Yeah, so it's her and Jaimin Hansu, who I love.
So
love that guy.
He is one of those actors that I think everyone knows his face, but no one knows his name.
That's probably true.
Because like you see him he's like the wizard in Shazam. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's in a bunch of stuff.
So many things. Have you ever seen him in Blood Diamond? Did you ever see Blood Diamond? Oh man.
No, he is. That man needs more credit. He's so good.
It's kind of weird that he's not in more stuff.
Right. And I think he plays like the husband or father or something in this movie.
Well, he was in the second one.
He was in the second one. That's right.
He was in the second one.
He was like the leader of the...
I don't know. I don't think the character even has a name. And if it does, I don't remember it.
All I know is in this new trailer, when he's holding Lupita's character, and you see the intensity in his eyes, and like even the way his nostrils are playing, it's
so
like
good.
It's like you believe he's like holding his breath for his life, because if he makes noise, these things are going to eat him.
Oh,
it's so good.
So good.
So good.
I'm excited about that one.
But anyway, The Mandalorian. Are you excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu? We kind of went off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've already talked about it. We've already talked about it. I have I'm after Mandalorian season 3 and seeing it go off the rails for me. I think it went way more off the rails than you I think. But Mandalorian season 3 went off the rails for me. After seeing that and feeling like a lot of the other things that are going on in both Lucasfilm and Marvel kind of bled into The Mandalorian, that kind of took away the edge for me on The Mandalorian. So that being the case, when they made this announcement, first of all, we already knew they were going to do. There was already been rumors about a Mandalorian film.
Yeah.
So when they announced it, it wasn't a big deal. And I'm right in, even with The Mandalorian, I'm in the same camp of, you're just going to have to show me.
I'm excited because I love The Mandalorian. He's easily one of like my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing this because this is going to be Pedro Pascal's exit.
I would agree with that.
I think they might kill him off because Pedro Pascal, I mean, guys like freaking Joel, The Last of Us, he's now confirmed that he's freaking Mr. Fantastic. He's like in the new Gladiator prequel movie. He's just like
a very busy guy.
Yeah, very, very busy. And he's already played Mando since literally Mandalorian launched the original shows for Disney Plus. It was the first original show on the streaming service. It's, easily the most successful thing for Star Wars since Disney's merger with Lucasfilm, or, buying it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then the way they've been going to Bo-Katan, I like Bo-Katan. She's one of my favorite characters too. But it just seems like after seeing season 3, it would make sense that they're like, let's give him this own thing. Maybe we'll set up Grogu by the end of that film. He will be like a Mandalorian Jedi. Then we could just have Grogu keep appearing in the Mandalorian series. But since the series is called Mandalorian, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, Din Djarin Mandalorian. It could be any Mandalorian.
But isn't that in and of itself disappointing for you?
No, it is. Again, Pedro Pascal Mando's amazing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But it also, and the reason it's disappointing for me is to what I was saying before. It confirms that they're going in a different direction with the Mandalorian. Like
if our assumptions are correct.
I mean, I just don't know how you launch this show and do the first 2 seasons the way they did it, and then have it take such a major left turn, and then that just be the plan all along.
Playing devil's
if so, you intended to do a bait and switch.
But playing devil's advocate, what if the reason why they're doing this film and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are helming it is to course correct it? Because we're still getting a Mando season 4. This is not replacing Mando season 4. This is just before Mando season 4. So what if they're like, hey, you put your hands in our cookie jar. Now we need to fix it so we can transition back into the show seasons.
I'm an Occam Razors guy, kind of guy. So I tend to lean towards what is the most likely scenario here, and it's not that.
Man, Din Djarin's so good.
Again, I hope that I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping it's what you're saying, but I would imagine my bet, if I had to bet, gun to my head, I'm betting that it's the opposite.
I really need a plot and synopsis, like a thorough plot and synopsis for this film, a trailer, teaser trailer, because I need to know why are you giving us an 1.5 to 2 hour movie? Like what are you doing? Yeah. What's the point? Like I imagine it's got to be like him training Grogu. Like by the end, something big has to happen with Grogu.
I definitely agree with the concept that this is probably his exit, even if especially
you think he dies
because
saving Grogu? Because that would be the way to go,
I don't know how they plan on doing it, but definitely for me, or at least it makes it significantly more likely, is the recent confirmation, even though there was already a bunch of smoke, that he's going to be Reed Richards in the Marvel Universe. SAG-AFTRA, I guess, dropped a post or something that confirmed that he is going to be playing Reed Richards. I think it got taken down, actually, but
the director posted a picture. And his account got deleted, or he deleted his account, something of the sort.
So I don't know if that was like, oops. But
why would you delete your account? Just delete the post. Like, I don't know. That was weird.
Yeah, maybe so they can say, I got hacked. But, with him playing Reed Richards and then all these other things that he's doing, it just seems kind of like,
Mando is kind of, Okay, I'm trying to think about this before I say it. Yes, Mandalorian, his role as Din Djarin is the role that like kind of launched him into A-list status. He was in Game of Thrones. He was in a lot of stuff before.
A lot of stuff.
He was. A lot. But think about it. Once Mando hit and it was such a success, that's when he started getting role after role after role.
Yes. I mean, I would say the role that probably really got him going, that even got him probably the Mandalorian, was his role. No, in Narco.
Oh, he was really good. Yes.
He was amazing.
But that wasn't as like mainstream as something like a Mandalorian.
Extremely well received, very popular.
It was.
And it was like an award nominated.
But like
his performance in that was insane.
There's a difference, like with the Marvel, Star Wars, DC effect. When you play Superman, when you play a Star Wars character, when you play Spider-Man, it just brings you to this whole other level.
No doubt about that. It certainly launched him into another stratosphere.
Yeah.
But he was already like.
It wasn't like this was like, freaking your average Joe over here, but
if you're ditching the main character that everyone fell in love with the series, and you're moving in this, it's just, for me, that's one of two things. Either it was a bait and switch from the start, which I don't like. Mm-hmm. Why build up this character that everybody really likes and start telling the story only to have the story kind of the carpet ripped out from underneath this character so you can deviate and go in a different direction. It seems weird. Especially for good storytellers like Favreau and Filoni. Mm-hmm. Or this is what I think is more likely, which is same problem we've had with all these other things. Hands in the cookie jar, somebody starts telling a good story, people come in, they want to put their stamp on it for whatever reason, and it just starts getting deviated from its original intent or the original idea, or it just gets convoluted, whatever.
That's fun.
Either way, I mean, again, I hope they prove us wrong. I just don't think.
In Jon Favreau, we trust.
Yeah.
Because he's directing and Filoni is producing.
Definitely gives me a lot more optimism about the movie being really solid with Favreau at the helm.
At the helm. Because he created Mando and Grogu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's just a really good
right. But
filmmaker.
they're also they're like his babies. It's kind of like the new Avatar show,
Yeah.
like when the live action one, when the creators like dipped, you're like, why did the creators leave? That's not a good sign.
I wonder if this might be Favreau's exit as well.
Exit where?
Out of the Mandalorian stuff. And he might go off and do it.
Well, he's doing a movie after this, which is in this Mando verse.
Which one? They've announced 2?
Yeah, you don't remember? So way before this.
Am I just forgetting all of this?
You are forgetting because remember they announced the Rey movie. They announced Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie, which is going to be in the Mandoverse. James Mangold's like prequel, like, old Jedi movie, and there was I think a 4th one. And then remember we talked about this on the podcast, and we're like, that's why it's really weird that they didn't announce Mandalorian and Grogu at the same time as those movies. So what happened between then and now that they're like, we're actually gonna bump up and add a movie called Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's gonna come out before any of these. We got a release date for this film.
Well,
we got nothing else for the other ones.
I remember all the other stuff that you said, but I just don't remember a second film for Favreau.
Well, because this is the only one Favreau's doing. Filoni's doing the other one, but Favreau, I believe, is producing.
Oh, because you said Favreau is doing another movie. So you think it's just that he might produce
producing? Yes.
Well, there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not suggesting that Favreau's out. I'm just saying I wonder, because if they are messing with his stuff, he's the type of creator that he's gonna be like, no.
That would be the dumbest thing.
So dumb.
That stuff pisses me off.
What would make you think they wouldn't do that? Something that's stupid.
It's going back to the Netflix and live action Avatar. Like the creators were involved with it originally. Then I guess, creative differences as always, and both of them left to form their own Avatar studios to continue their stories in animation, which is coming out in 2025, I believe. The first new animated series will come out next year. But it's like, if the creator... It's the thing that pisses me off. When you have proven concepts, like the only reason you're making a live action Avatar series is because of how successful and loved Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra are, right? That's the only reason you're doing it, because it's going to bring in money and people want to see it because people love those 2 series. So if the 2 creators like, nah, maybe no, wouldn't you think you should listen to them, given that the only reason you're making the series is because of the 2 previous series they made? That stuff never ceases to amaze me.
Arris, here's your problem. You're saying things that make sense. You know what I mean? That require logic and reason.
I say all that because the same thing with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Jon Favreau created it. Filoni helped him flesh it out with his Star Wars knowledge, and they did it together, right? So wouldn't you want to listen to the 2 guys who brought this magnificent series and characters to you?
No.
Because to be frank, people would be like, oh, but like Kathleen Kennedy had to approve it. Yeah. All she had to do is, sure, she said yes, go. Good job. You said yes to a good idea. Fantastic. Because we were like, you got to give her some credit. It's like, okay, she said yes to an awesome idea. Who wouldn't say yes to an awesome idea?
We are talking about the same company. We're talking about the same company that hired a countless number of writers and filmmakers in the Marvel Universe.
Don't get me started. No, Tim, no. Don't get me started on that.
What the source material was. Weren't comic fans.
Stop it. I've already went on this rant.
They don't even want to read them. Think they're stupid.
You want to open this? You did this.
Same company.
You did this.
So what's shocking here, gang? And if any of you are wondering what I'm referring to, a couple of channels on YouTube, not ours, posted a montage a while back, in the last few weeks, I guess, of all these different Marvel writers and creators and filmmakers, people that were involved in directing, writing, etc., in various podcasts and interviews and so on, talking about how they'd never read the source material. They never read the comic, this, that, and the other thing. And I think you've seen it at this point. I think you've already commented on it. But Tim, it's the same company. Nothing should be shocking at this point.
Why you got to open up that womb? I just got over this.
Why do you think for 2
you
years
you know what the kicker is? No.
I have been saying this is an ideology problem?
No, you know what the kicker is? This is the kicker. When you see in those interviews, I think it was the director, I don't know, the director of one of the MCU things. It was either like, I don't know,
almost
Falcon
all
Soldier,
of them.
whatever.
From phase 4 on.
The one that literally like blew me back was when one of the directors said that he was told from the studio to not read the comic books. And then Tim, okay. All right. Because it's the dumbest thing ever. Okay. It's like, I don't know. Freaking, let's just use a character. Let's say hypothetically, I know nothing about Star Wars. Never watched the movie, never read a book. In your life. I get hired to write the movie.
You're the perfect candidate.
Yeah, I get hired to write the movie, but I've never watched the movie, to write the new movie, but I've never watched the old ones. I've never read any comic books, nothing, right?
Right. How
can I write a movie on something I know nothing about? The answer is you can't, Tim. It's literally impossible to write something you know nothing about. Because at that point, this confirmed what I've been saying for freaking years. My Taskmaster rant. It's literally confirmed it. You could say that character's Taskmaster, but it fundamentally is not Taskmaster. Yeah. And we know now the reason why, because they're not reading the books.
Well, you know the reason why now.
I've
known this.
Right, but it's confirmed.
It's been confirmed. These interviews have been out there for a long time. It's just this guy put together a montage of it.
It doesn't matter.
I had heard these things years ago. This crap has been out there in the wild for years. That's why I have been saying over and over and over again. And my pushback is always, nothing is going to really fundamentally change until there is a full change of the guard at Disney. Because you have ideologues that are pushing agendas instead of good storytelling. And that's why we're getting these hires in the first freaking place. Why else would you do that? Why else would you do it?
You can
wait.
You can write a movie about a character knowing nothing about them. It's
you
true.
Can. It's called
true.
Original content.
Yeah. No, the thing that's funny though, it's like you're literally just writing whatever you want. It's another thing that I complain about all the time. You're literally just oh my God, it's so annoying. You're literally just taking these characters and IPs that we love so much for specific reasons, because we all, they're successful for certain reasons, right?
Yeah.
Let's say Superman. We got him on the table right here. Superman, right? People love him because of the stories we've grown up with. He's got a set of rules. All these characters, like, they're not real,
right? But
you treat them as the real and you give them rules and you follow those rules.
For sure.
And then that's why you like that character, because Superman's like true at heart. He's never going to do it. Like, you know what to expect when you say Superman, right?
Yep.
But they write these characters now where they just do whatever they want and they call it Superman, but it's not really Superman. I'm using Superman as an example.
Right.
But it's just the most annoying thing. It's like, you're just taking these IPs that we love, doing whatever you want with them to get us into the theaters and thinking you're going to trick us into liking it. Just because you're using the name Superman or you're using the name like Darth Vader or whatever it is. That's not, you can't, Taskmaster is a great example of that. Even Thor Love and Thunder, that's not Thor.
Yeah.
You can call it Thor. Thor has never been like that in the comic books.
Ever.
So it's like, you're just tricking us, and fans are finally catching up to it, where you see it at the box office. We're like, we're not going to just see whatever movie you slap out. Just because it says Spider-Man, it says Thor, it says Marvel, it says DC, doesn't mean we're going to see it.
Took long enough.
Yeah. So it's just really annoying.
I'll tell you the pushback on that, on this discussion that we're having now, or this sentiment that you and I have on this topic, that drives me the most nuts, is the one where you hear people push back and say, well, these are fictional characters. People do alternate versions of characters all the time, etc. It's like, yes, that's true. But the only way you can do an alternate take on an existing character with a long and rich backstory, you have to know the history of the character in the first place. So you know what an alternate take might be. What different spin you can apply to that character, what's already been done, what came before you, so that you can then use that and say, hey, this is what the character has been. This is what he's done. This is his power sets. This is where he's from. This is a backstory, et cetera, et cetera. You know what would be a cool twist on that? You can't get to this until you first know that. We're talking about people that have no idea what any of this crap is in the first place. They're just saying a character with a name and whatever pop culture references they're familiar with, and then going, what would I do if I was creating this character from scratch? And again, you can absolutely do that. If you're a studio and you own these properties, you can absolutely do that. What you cannot then do in turn is look at the audience when they don't like it and go, no, right? Then turn around and blame the audience, and it's the audience's problem. They're being toxic. They're being this. They're being that. They're this ism or that, whatever insult. And are there those people on some front? Yes, but those are the fringes. The majority of fans, it's not that. It's that you're putting out bad stories. Not just bad stories with characters they like. That's also a part of it. But it's bad storytelling in a lot of cases, flat out, period.
Well, to that, doing the alternate versions, I think James Gunn is doing a smart approach with that, where he's establishing for the DCU going forward, there is an Elseworld universe, Elseworlds.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, he flat out said in his DC announcement from a year ago, he's like, and if it's not in our main, universe, that will be labeled Elseworlds, like Todd Phillips, the Joker, Matt Reeves, the Batman, Teen Titans Go. So it's like, do it, but be upfront about it. Because that's the thing that's like pisses me off. It's like they try to trick you. They're like, oh, this is a new Spider-Man movie. Then you go see it. It's like, that's a totally different take on Spider-Man. Why can't you just say, like what James Gunn is doing, and be like, this is like an alternate version?
Sure.
They do that because they know if you were to say that, it's a lot less likely for you to go if they're upfront knowing it's this new take. But James Gunn is being very smart. That's the thing. That's why I'm kind of like pulling for him, because he's very much pulling from the books and trying. It seems that he's trying to honor the fan base because he is a true nerd himself,
right,
and stuff like that. So I'm pulling for him because he's being very upfront thus far, or so it seems, and transparent with the audience and the fans, being like, hey, this is going to be this, and we'll do those things, but we're going to let you know it's a separate thing. So I'm like, that's all we want. Just don't lie to us. Like, imagine that.
But also, what's the key part of what you're saying? It's James Gunn is a fan to start with.
He is, yeah.
He's a fan. We're talking about creators hiring a studio, hiring writers, directors, creators, period, who aren't even fans of the content.
Yeah, it's just paychecks, yeah.
They're not even fans of the content.
But you know what?
These are established properties. For instance, when you have a director who's really passionate about a film because they wrote the story, they're more likely to put out something that is the best version of that story as possible, as long as they're a capable filmmaker in terms of direction and the technical side of things. They're more likely to put out the best version if left unmolested by the studio or producers. They're the best. That story is going to be the best in their hands because they wrote it. It came from them. There's a passion behind that. They know what the story means. They know what the intention of it is. And it's the same thing on these established universes. If you're going to hire someone, you have to hire somebody who has at least a more than a novice understanding of who these characters are and what their history is. Otherwise, there's just like, what are you drawing from?
But I don't even blame the writers or directors. I don't.
No,
I blame the studio. Because it's like, if they came to me tomorrow, they're like, hey, write a Star Trek movie, I would say yes, and 100% then research the hell out of Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell the writer or director I hired, hey, don't read the source material. We want to do our own thing. It's like, then you know what you should do? Make your own original movie and don't call it like Spider-Man or whatever the hell, you're doing.
Yep.
Like that's the thing. Make it real short. The thing that pisses me off the most is they're using names and properties that we love to do things that are not that. Yep. They're attaching these names and things they know will bring people in because everyone knows Spider-Man, everyone knows Batman, everyone knows Star Wars, everyone knows the Hulk. So like, oh, that name will get someone in the theater, but then they're giving us something that's not that. It's just like, then you're just lying to us. Why can't you won't do an original IP because it's too risky because we might not show up. Yeah. But if you say Hulk, we'll show up. And that's what pisses me off.
Correct.
But fans are starting to not show up anymore, and that makes me happy.
I mean, it's been going on now for a while.
Because it's like, you can't just freaking do that to us and keep getting away with it. It's only going to last so long.
It took a long time. That's the one thing that I am thankful for. People are instantly shutting stuff off if they even get a whiff of some of the things that have been driving a lot of the bad storytelling. And like I've been saying over and over and over again, I'll keep saying it. It's agenda driven. It's ideology driven. And again, you own it. It's yours. It's dead on the money to say, this is not the writer's fault who are getting hired. It's not the director's fault who are getting hired. It's the studio.
So transitioning to that, Tim, staying in Disney. Disney is in hot water. They're in hot water. they are in hot
money-wise, they've been.
They're in hot water. No, but you know this one. It just broke this week. Elon Musk is teaming up with Gina Carano to sue Disney for apparently wrongful firing.
Yeah.
So
wrongful termination.
So we all know that she got axed, going back to the Mandalorian, from the Mandalorian for some tweets she put out quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And now Elon Musk, being the vengeful bastard he is, just having money to throw around, is like, and not liking Iger, to say the least, in Disney, he's like, you know what? I'm going to give you money, Gina. I'm going to give you lots of lawyers, and we going after Disney.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're being completely objective and fair, Elon was not the first one to shoot, to fire shots. It was Disney and other corporations. So for him to get involved, you could make the argument that it's self-preservation, because he's had shots fired at him. They pulled all their ads off Twitter and all kinds of stuff. That was the whole infamous at this point. You think you're going to blackmail me with money? Go F yourself. So, it's like whatever you think about Elon Musk, objectively, he was not the first one to fire shots. So, I'm kind of like, whatever. And if Gina Carano has a case, if she doesn't, then Disney has nothing to worry about. If she has a case, then I hope justice is served.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see how that turns out. I just think it's very interesting how Musk is so like, how would I say that? I just think it's very interesting how Musk is kind of going after Disney, because that leads into the surprise what I was going to tell you. So this is not confirmed, but there's definitely a lot of like smoke fire thing here. So this is the headline, Tim. Elon Musk hints at buying Disney. So I'm going to break this down for you, because there's actually some validity to this, okay? There is some like, he actually might be trying to acquire Disney.
Okay.
So keep in mind, he's teaming up with Gina Carano, giving her a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Days after this headline hits, this is why. He was at the Lola premiere with Nelson Peltz.
I know what this is. As soon as you said it, I know it was
with
going.
Nelson Peltz. So he was interviewed on the red carpets. What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And he jokingly says,
"So what brings you to the Lola carpet?"
I'm just here with friends, thinking about companies to acquire.
Now, for the audience, if you don't know, Nelson Peltz is a billionaire businessman, just like freaking Elon Musk, who is basically an advocate for bringing Disney back to its original ways.
Well, it goes well beyond that.
Yeah, I'm giving the summary here.
He's partnered with
I'm setting it up.
Perlmutter.
Yes, I'm setting this up.
Yeah.
So, and
this part isn't new.
And it's not.
This has been out for a while.
But at this premiere, he was with Nelson Peltz when he made that comment about acquiring some new companies. So with the Gina Carano stuff, going after Disney, with him at the premiere on the carpet with Nelson Peltz, saying that same night he's going to acquire companies, is Elon Musk trying to put himself in a position where he could potentially acquire Disney? This is the same dude, out of spite, who bought Twitter. He doesn't like Iger. He literally told Disney and Iger to F themselves. It is all lining up.
I wouldn't say that Elon Musk bought Twitter out of spite. I think he did it to make a point.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a difference there.
Okay, whatever. He bought it because he was pissed off.
Yeah, and in my opinion, rightly so.
Oh, that's just, all I'm saying is, if he doesn't like the way a company is run, it seems like he wants to buy them. He called Iger and Disney.
It goes beyond that.
He told Iger and let's lay it out again. Let's do the timeline. Last year, when Disney threatened to take away ads from X, he told Iger and Disney to go F themselves. This year, a few days ago, he teamed up with Gina Carano, who was fired by Disney, to give her money and lawyers to go after Disney. Days after that, he is seen with Nelson Peltz on the red carpet saying he's looking to acquire companies. They're both billionaires. If they team up, they have the capital and could get the loans to buy Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, they could.
It could happen.
Okay. Okay.
I knew you would like this.
Okay. So here's the thing. Now, when Arris says I would like it, let me explain why I do. I love it. I love underdog stories, for starters. That'll give you a hint. I love it when a lot of rich, powerful people team up to try and filibuster the world, and something or someone just rams a blockade right up their anus. I love that crap. It's like a delicious cookie when you're done, like what the water fast.
But isn't it so crazy? Because like you said, it's like, oh no, this is plausible. It's plausible.
Well, so as soon as you said that,
it's plausible.
I immediately knew this is going to be about what Ike Perlmutter and Nelson are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because this has been going on for weeks, where they are trying to get, they're trying to get him on the board of director. And through hostile means, they're trying to get him a seat on the board of directors to upend what's going on. And if you want to rewind even further, that began with Ike Perlmutter.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Who was like the most powerful man at Marvel.
Correct. And because Nelson Peltz and him are really good friends. And Ike Perlmutter had been saying from within Disney for a very long time, what the heck are you guys doing? Now, a lot of people go after him because he's a Trump supporter or whatever. He has close ties to Donald Trump, which we will not comment on. Not a fan myself, but so they use that to kind of bash him. Yeah. But internally of Disney, he was saying like, you guys are going to sink this ship.
Yeah.
Like with all of this ideological stuff. We're supposed to be an entertainment company. That was a lot of the argument, at least rumors wise, because none of this is public. That was coming out of Ike Perlmutter's disgruntled opinions from within Disney. So they ousted him kind of in increments over time. Well, as soon as he was out, the very first thing that he did was start plotting to get back into the board through this hostile means. He partnered with Nelson Peltz, and they're trying to disrupt. I love disruption in the right way. Because Disney, look, whatever your political opinions are, there at this point, is there really any reasonable, objective person that looks at what's been going on with Disney for the last, 5 years or something?
Yeah, several years,
and goes, this is going well, right? The simple fact, again, just not to be redundant, but the simple fact that Kathleen Kennedy has not been fired for performance tells you a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Just her. We'll just mention her as one example. There's multiple. So I don't mind seeing outside people go, this sucks. This is a traditional American institution, Walt Disney's company, right? That is being used for whatever purposes. Yeah. And they're sinking this thing. This thing has tons of potential. It means a lot to a lot of people, particularly in the US, but around the world. And we can't let that happen. So I'm all for efforts to try and save a company that has a real value, not just money-wise, but in terms of, meaningful storytelling for a lot of people. Like things that are very nostalgic, things that kind of root you in your childhood that you want to pass on to your kids, things like that. Yeah. It's one of the very unique American things, particularly in the last century. So now you insert this thing with Elon Musk, and because the whole Nelson Peltz thing, it's like, yes, they can absolutely make some noise, but it's not going to go that far. You insert Elon into the equation.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like, now again, them actually acquiring Disney would be a task because they would only be able, because it would have to be hostile. They're not going to sell it to him. No. So it would have to be a hostile takeover, similar to what happened with Twitter, which means they would have to come in at a significantly higher buyout price than what Disney is currently at. And that's a lot more expensive than Twitter.
This is what I was going to say. So it doesn't matter whether you think that's a good idea or whether you think that's a bad idea. Purely bring it up because just of how crazy it is, right? Like that's nuts. But do you, man, no, yeah, he's crazy enough to do this. I honestly think this might happen, or it might be attempted, because Elon Musk, if you've been watching him the last several years, like he's all about being like that crazy billionaire in the headlines, making moves, making waves.
Yeah.
You know, for what, a year, almost 2 years, he was making waves with Twitter before he finally acquired it.
Right.
And now if he's like, all right, I'm going to team up with another billionaire. And then together, all of because Elon Musk
just need one more.
Yeah, because Elon Musk alone is almost his net is almost 200 billion. That's just him. You take in freaking Nelson Peltz.
It was 300 at one point. Has it come down?
Well, last I checked, it was around 200 billion. But nonetheless, you have 2 billionaires in, like, and you're going out like it's like it's kind of what they did to Twitter. You could only get to a certain point where you're going to force their hand. Like if they're buying in at this extraordinary rate, the shareholders of Disney cannot say no. Everyone would be like, "What are you talking about? Look at that number." You can't say no because money talks. Everyone has a number. So, so if that comes in, if it does happen, let's end with this. Because we don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does, let's say 2 years from now, we're like, "Oh my God, he actually did it." What do you think Disney will look like under Peltz and Musk?
Well, I don't think it would just be those two because Ike Perlmutter would probably be in on it because he's a billionaire himself.
Is he a billionaire as well?
Oh yeah, he's actually richer than Nelson Peltz.
So you got 3 billionaires?
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's 3. but here, let me see what Elon Musk's net worth is because Elon is significantly wealthier than those two guys. Significantly.
You do Ike. I'll
200 billion. So Ike is worth about 4 billion.
Okay.
Nelson is about just under 2, around 2.
Oh, so he's like you said, he's got way more money than them.
Elon he's one of the richest men in the world.
He is.
There's a difference. So yeah, he's about 200 billion. So he came down. That's pretty substantial drop off. Oh wow, he's really roughing it.
How's he gonna pay his mortgage?
How poor children. So yeah, I mean, still, even at that, because Disney's value is, almost 200 billion.
That's the next point I was going to bring up, that Musk alone, his net worth is a little bit more than Disney's entire value.
Yes, that is true. But again, that's not liquid.
It's not liquid. But if you're him, wouldn't you imagine he could easily get a loan to buy it out?
He would have to finance it for sure. There's a lot of hurdles to something like that.
That's the thing with Elon Musk. Like, who's gonna not give Elon Musk a loan? One of the richest men in the world, you're gonna deny him a loan?
Here's what's very plausible. Here's what's very possible. Elon comes in, he sets a stage for a very real possibility of a hostile buyout. They partner with, because I think they would need to bring in a couple more people that have some real backing to create almost like an investment group. Then if it looks like, hey, this is an actual possibility, they could come in here and try and upend this entire thing, just like what they did with Twitter. I think there's a very good possibility. Well, first of all, it would send Disney into total turmoil. It would it would send Disney into all kinds of chaos.
If this was actually to happen, like this would be this would shift everything, all of entertainment.
Well, it would just be panic.
Well, because at that point, Musk would effectively own and control basically half of Hollywood.
It's not quite half, but it's a lot.
It's Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Fox, ESPN. Like, come on, man. Well, Hulu.
Yeah, no, they have some of the biggest, but I'm saying there's a lot of other things outside of Disney. But they're huge. They're huge.
Right. It's like, we talk about all the time. When you think of studios, it's like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony. It's like the first come to your mind.
And it's just because they own like the largest franchises.
The most beloved. Some of the most loved franchises.
That you can think of off the top of your head. But
what would Musk Star Wars look like? What would Musk Marvel look like?
I guarantee you he would have almost nothing to do with it. He would fire every freaking buddy. Because the question then becomes, well, what do you do then? Because do you do something? It would be very difficult to do this. Do you do what you did with Twitter where you take it private? Because I've said for many years, my opinion has been that Walt Disney's greatest mistake was taking the Walt Disney Company public. He did it to raise funds for his future projects and stuff, and it allowed them to expand a great deal. But anytime you take a company public, you eventually lose control of your company.
Could you imagine if he took bought it private and he brought it private, so he took it off the table?
He wouldn't be able to do it himself. But if an investment group came together, they bought Disney through a hostile takeover and a hostile buyout, and they took it private, man, total panic. That would be a earthquake. That would be a tsunami in Hollywood in terms of what the ramifications of that would be and all kinds of stuff. But
because now they have no say.
Right. There's no board.
My God.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, they would assign a board, but it wouldn't have the same function.
Are you like in the Joker in the sense like, I just want to see the chaos happen? Like, you're just like
a little bit. I kind of like, let's find out.
I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I just want to see the mess of it all.
I kind of just want to like, let's find out, because here's what I'm saying. Like, the current status quo sucks. It's not going great. And so it's like, yeah, let's disrupt the apple cart, see what the freak happens. I'm kind of like, you know, and now don't get me wrong. There's some caveats on that. There's some people I don't want to see get their hands on that kind of power.
But that would also mean Musk now, as an entity, he would own one of the biggest social media like sites ever.
For sure.
One of the biggest entertainment sites in the world.
Yep.
One of the biggest like space explorations that like just Tesla, like
the largest space exploration
he just like Tesla, Neuralink, SpaceX, Twitter. That's kind of like
a lot of power in one man.
Yeah, I don't know if one person should have all that power.
I would agree with that. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know. But at the same time, you know, again, he would not be able to own Disney by himself. So that would be the one difference here. He would not be able to do that by himself. Otherwise, I think he probably already would have. But this is the other point I was going to make is if it looks like that's a real possibility, they get an investment group together and it looks like there's a real shot here. Mm-hmm. First of all, panic is going to ensue within Disney. And secondly, that I would be surprised if you didn't see another major company come along and go, we can't allow that to happen. Like Apple, that has the means to go, no. And they put in a bid that's higher and acquire Disney outright.
Apple would be the most logical thing. They already have a deal with them.
There's been all kinds of rumors of this for years already. So now would the federal, the SEC and all that kind of allow it?
But that's the thing about Musk. What if he's doing it because he doesn't even fully think it'll happen, but he's doing it to force people's hands. Possibly. Like he wants to force Apple to try to acquire Disney.
But why?
Because he just likes chaos.
He's more strategic than that.
Maybe, but like, what do you think? What do you think the reason why he's backing Gina Carano for?
I think the same reason that Disney's doing what they're doing. I think he genuinely has an ideological reasoning. Now, you can agree or disagree with his ideological reasoning, but I think that ideologically, this is what he's vocalized. This is not me just making this up and assuming. This is what he has said over and over again in interviews. He is somewhat disgusted with the way that a lot of companies and very powerful people have been behaving and trying to force certain things onto the populace of not just the United States, but the world. And he is very unhappy with it, and he thinks that something needs to be done. He believes that he has the means, so he's doing what he thinks he can to try and stick a fork in the eye of the narrative and of the plan, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So again, whether you agree or disagree with that seems to be his driving, motivation. It's just like on the Disney side. You ask, why would they hire all these people that don't have anything to do? Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. Ideology. Well, you can agree or disagree with them, but that's what they're doing. And same thing with Elon Musk. You can agree or disagree with why he's doing it, but it seems to be ideologically driven. It just happens to be a contrary opinion to what's driving Disney. And that's where they're butting heads. And it's not just Disney. I mean, there's a slew of people and companies, global multinational corporations and financial institutions that are on the Disney side that have already kind of partnered up to take shots at Elon and his companies.
Man.
So it's like, for me, I'm just like the popcorn bucket, like just watching and like, let's see how this thing churns out.
I just think it's so fascinating that this is actually even like a possibility.
Yeah. It's like Elon Musk is like driving the Black Pearl.
Because he's
the pirate ship that just pulls up out of nowhere and just starts firing
But
cannons.
The reason why I say vengeful and spiteful or whatever you want to call it is because like, it's just because he doesn't care, right? He literally told Disney said, "Go F yourselves."
He said, "You're gonna blackmail me with money,"
which is kind of funny in itself. It's like, how are you gonna blackmail like one of the richest men in the world with money? That doesn't make any sense. It's like you're blackmailing him with the thing he doesn't need.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, they're hoping to appeal to his greed. That's how a lot of this stuff gets done.
He clearly doesn't
They try
care.
to keep you in line. You know, once you're in a certain club, you're kept in check by appealing to your greed or whatever.
I just think the
sometimes
story of it all
doesn't work.
is fascinating. Again, like
Very.
no matter how it started with them threatening him and then him like firing back saying go F yourself, and then now he's back in Gina Carano, and then he's like, you know, having meetings with freaking pelts and stuff and looking into the camera saying maybe looking to acquire some companies. Like it's like, okay.
Yeah, and again,
because he's very smart.
Oh, super smart.
So he knows he knew that headline was going to come out.
100%. And you have to ask yourself, was that something real? Like what happened with Twitter, where everybody thought he was just
that's what I'm
messing
saying.
around.
He's crazy enough to do
it. Or is it a Dogecoin scenario where he just loves poking the bear and manipulating that market?
This is why
by putting out little hint tweets and
this is why I say he likes playing the game though. That's why I say he's a little spot. He likes because he's got money. Who's gonna tell him no? So he likes to just be a little bratty sometimes. He's like, what are you gonna do to me?
Since he acquired Twitter, he doesn't do the Dogecoin thing as much. But yeah, so you really don't know. He might just be trying to provoke. Or it could be the little rumblings of something that's really going on. Listen, I'm all for the show. We can't do anything about it.
All I know is if that headline breaks, I wish that was the headline. I surprised you. Like he bought Disney, and you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no, he did it.
I would say the thing to watch out for now is because you already have Ike and Nelson kind of banding up and really trying to get back into the board to a hostile means. So you've already got that going on for real. If you start seeing Elon and there's any kind of a group being formed, where they're starting to put a fund or monies together, a pool of money, now we're talking something might be a brewing.
What are Disney shares worth right now? Do you know?
Last I checked, they were at 80. Let me see. I know that they went up recently.
So, because what do you think it would take?
No, they're no. They're at 110 right now.
Because much
it's gone up?
How much more? How much per share do you think they would have to double it? You think for them to be like, oh, we can't say no to that?
No, you wouldn't have to double it. I think that if you come in,
you think like 300 billion,
30% over market value, because it becomes a fiduciary issue. Right?
Fiduciary. That's a fun word.
It becomes like a responsibility issue so if you can offer enough to where, let's say, shareholders can have a case to cry negligence for you turning down Twitter, which is exactly what he did with Twitter. So you just have to figure out what that threshold would be.
You think it would only be around 30% more?
I don't know.
Well, it turns into that point. All the shareholders are like, we will make so much money off this. If you say no, we're saying negligence.
Yeah, because then you have to ask yourself, like, what is the likelihood of, let's say, a Disney stock price going to $180 a share anytime in the next 10 years? It's possible.
What was their high before 2020 or during 2020, all that nonsense?
All-time high? Man, let me see.
Come on, this is what you do, Tim. This is your alley.
They're all-time. I don't believe they ever actually hit 200, but it was just shy.
Okay.
They may have just touched it. It was I believe it was just under 200 a share.
Was this when Disney Plus
all-time high?
Was this when Disney Plus just launched around that time?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was 2020.
Yeah, it was at their
around 2020.
Was hitting.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I hope all those people sold.
But they had dropped. They had actually dropped off quite a bit. They had dropped down to around $80 a share. So it's come up now. A decent chunk, which is kind of hilarious to me. But that's just because the entire market is very heavily manipulated right now.
With that quarterly call, it was like, oh, we've saved money. Oh, we're doing better from the
yeah. And a lot of companies do this. It's just a means of manipulating things and playing with numbers. But because a lot of companies' share prices went up because over the last year or so,
I'm telling you,
the market is crazy out of control.
I feel because
that's been true for years.
I feel because of that, of Disney threatening to pull ads from X. That's he's like, okay, you're threatening me. How can I buy you? how can I buy you? Because he's probably took it personal.
He's sitting in a room like, I'm sick of this crap.
He's a billionaire, right? No matter whether you love him or hate him, billionaires are billionaires. They have egos because they're freaking the most powerful. They run the world. It's impossible to be a billionaire and not have some sort of ego.
They're just
right?
like us, Arris.
Yeah, they just buy their
like
own
us,
islands.
An everyday guy.
Yeah, fart like freaking $100 bills. So yes, so at some level he's like, no sirree, because you could see him in that interview, that famous interview that went viral. He was like annoyed that he had to.
Wouldn't you be?
But
if it were you, would you be annoyed?
Right. But what I'm saying is, if you have that power and the means, he's like, what can I do now? If bare minimum, how could I make you nervous or piss you off?
You know.
And what that is teaming up and being like, even if this doesn't turn out, even if this is just me trying to make headlines, I'm gonna make you a little nervous.
Without question.
You know?
I think that if you were like, oh, is this the game we're playing? If it were you, right?
Because like the Dogecoin thing, he might not. This might just be all a joke, but they don't know that.
No,
it's just like, what is this guy gonna do?
Yeah. Even if he just has them like looking under their covers under their bed at night, I think that there might be some satisfaction there for sure.
Yeah, freaking, it's crazy.
Crazy
world.
It's hilarious.
Freaking this episode of what is it? Every Friday they would do like the Disney movie night with The
Wonderful World of Disney.
This Wonderful World of Disney is sponsored by Tesla. Sponsored by X.
Oh man. That's really funny.
I
mean, going back to the Gina thing.
You see Mickey wearing Tesla shirts? Oh my God. Freaking he's on his freaking the castle's on the SpaceX. Oh Lord,
that's really funny. Yeah, make their mouse ears on the rocket.
Freaking A.
But for going back to the Gina thing, the Gina lawsuit with Gina Carano, I'd be curious to know, what do you guys think? Does Gina have a case? Do you think Gina was rightly or wrongfully fired? Let us know down in the comments. I'd be curious to see what the audience thinks on that topic, because it was very polarized, obviously, when it happened. But
I'm sure I
feel like it's less polarized now than it was.
We should do a poll on, would you want Elon Musk to acquire Disney?
That's a good one.
Would you want
Elon Musk or an Elon Musk led a group of investors to purchase the Disney Corporation?
That's just fun to see what people think.
Yeah.
Because that's interesting.
That is an interesting one.
I don't even.
All right, so we'll do both.
What would that look like? That'd be crazy.
We'll do both. I'm going to put both those polls up. You guys will see them.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message. I'm telling you, that's Musk. I'm telling you. Yeah. He don't give an F about money. He's got all the money.
I mean, well, yeah. What would you? That's why I say, like, I think what's driving him at this point is his own personal ideology, whatever that may be. Because it's not about money. Clearly.
Or maybe he's like, with Neuralink, if I own Disney, I can implant this into every.
Imagine the potential on Disney Plus.
Do you remember Batman Forever, where the Riddler has like that brain device, TV. And you watch TV and it like controls you? Yeah. That's like Elon Musk, but he wants Disney Plus to use his Neuralink to do that. He's the real villain.
He's the Riddler.
But I think that brings today's episode to a close.
Oh, man.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Now I'm going to be watching to see what happens with this. That's like full on. You could turn that into a reality show and I'd watch it.
Freaking Musk. He's chaos. He's chaos incarnate.
I personally I'm in both of them are. The Disney types of the world who have all this power and are doing all these things, and they all are creating their own versions of ideologically driven chaos. And it's like, let's see who wins. Yeah. We'll turn it into our own version of the Coliseum.
Freaking insane.
Let's see who wins in the end. Buy a sailboat and live on the ocean.
Iger's loving this. But freaking A.
Hey, Bob.
But in any case, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.